Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show. And today we have a great guest on because, one of the things that's very intriguing now is, cloud accounting and all of the automation, the tools. But it's always great to talk to people who, started off in that industry before a lot of these fancy tools and these things became normal. So we have a great guest that'll be on. And one of the things that's really cool about him is, over the past year or so, he's been traveling around an RV with his family, moving from place to place, but while still running a successful firm and venturing into some new entrepreneurial endeavors with his business. So definitely stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Finance and the Accounting Show. This is the place to go for small business owners. If you're looking for a great way to understand the finance and the accounting side of your business, you're in the right place. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. So without further ado, Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Terrell. I can't believe I did a quick search. You did over 400 episodes. Is that right?
Yes, we have done over 400 episodes in I guess now the last, 22 months?
Insane. You're a machine. I don't know how you do it, but thank you for everything you do.
Hey, absolutely. My play, it's been an interesting journey of just hearing so many different stories and, hearing about people talk about, their entrepreneurial journey and you hear a lot of similarities. But, one of the things that for me that becomes very interesting is just respecting people who started a business. Like, a mutual friend of ours when we had Ryan on where he talked about, being one of the early ones to start a cloud accounting firm. And, you were during that time as well. So I'm really interested. What's been your perspective kind of as you've seen the industry and the appetite of what we can do with technology evolve over time? Like, how has that been for you?
Oh, it's extremely like it accelerated a lot in the last year or two. I feel like between 2012 and 2020, there was a lot of stall, right? The innovation was bank feeds, and then they slowly stopped working, and now it's like they don't work at all. But now you've got this whole industry of like really like pioneering, exciting accountants that are getting into like building their own stuff and automating things that have just bothered them for so long. They're hiring people to help them do that, and it's really fun to see. And a lot of them I call friends, and it's just so inspiring to kind of be around that like feels like early days again when it comes to the industry. And while there's some ebbs and flows, everybody goes through somewhat of a similar situation with whether it's hiring or firing or client issues or growth issues or the economy. It's really fun to have a supportive environment. So really happy that you had me on, and just looking forward to chatting.
Awesome, awesome. One of the things that I'm very curious about is because I in my honest opinion, and others may disagree, but in my honest opinion is I don't think that accountants and those who pursue the profession of accounting, like we're really trained to think outside of the box when it comes down to like how we approach business and just how we, really revolutionize things. So, what was your experience kind of prior to, getting into cloud accounting and pursuing that space? Like, what was your background?
I mean, are we really even taught what the box is in school? we're taught what boxes we need to get that next designation or that next accolade for school, but talking to people, selling your services, running a company, making friends along the way, I mean, it's not something you're taught. And I think what makes people special in general is just the accumulation of all their experiences, like finding out what they've gone through, how they approached it. That's really important. And to me, what's been really important is having a really close group of friends that are also doing this, whether it's inside the company or outside the company. So from a pedigree perspective, I did a very traditional type of accounting upbringing. Worked at a company, did the tropical island thing in the Cayman Islands for 4 or 5 years. Met some amazing people, and then you hear about this thing called BankLink over in New Zealand and Zero, like back in 2010, 9, and you're like, okay, I'll keep an eye on this thing. And then it just kind of works and works, and you actually get to use it, and you're like, oh, the possibilities are endless. So I'll never forget this day. It was me and my wife. We were sitting in this little, we're actually in the ocean in the Cayman Islands, just kind of talking about our future, and said, like, why don't we try to bring, online accounting to businesses in Canada? Like, there aren't too many people doing it. Like, I might have seen 3 or 4 people online at that time. We made the move back, had no idea what it would be like, had about a year worth of making absolutely no money. So going from the Cayman Islands, tax-free money to like zero income back in Canada, all throughout 2012 was really interesting. And then, you kind of meet your friend, and like I met my business partner, Josh Swag, and he was the tax and I was the tech, and we were both CPAs, and that was it. We just kind of wanted to be sufficient, right? He wanted the tech help and I wanted the tax help.
Nice, nice. It's very interesting. Like, say you speak about the tech aspect because I think in the environment we're living in now, I constantly having conversations with accountants and even corporate finance professionals to where tech is starting to become something that it's almost like it's embedded in the job to where we're no longer just technical, know your gap, know your tax code, know your formulas, but there's some technology that we're having to get adapt to. Like, what has that been like for you of, seeing that change since, tech was kind of your thing back then?
What it's like is it's an appreciation for the people around you. And I have a lot of respect for the accountants that do this on their own. And they're sole practitioners. They take on the sales, the tax, the tech, the customer service. That's a lot to take on. And I can see why there's an uptick in, people selling and like or merging in with other firms. Like, it's getting to be a lot. Early on, one of like our first employee was really techie. He was hired on as a bookkeeper, and now he's a partner at the firm. It just goes to show that, like, over the evolution of the business, the only way that we've ever been able to keep up with our clients and with our own self and our expectations of ourselves was to spread out that responsibility. So today, fast forward, almost 9, 10 years, you've got 8 years, is a team where we now have support teams for every role. So like now there's a bookkeeping tech role, there's a payables tech support, there's a tax technical support, and we're talking like computer support, right? Apps, processes, training. Like we have so many support roles that it could fill up an entire firm right now. And like we're at almost be over 100 people really soon. So to have that many tech people is just a natural evolution, because the more tech you introduce, the more tech your clients are using, the more people you have to support it.
Nice, nice. And now as you talked about, beforehand, and I mentioned it in the intro, I mean, you've been pretty much on the road, for a year while running the firm, playing an active role in the growth of the firm and just the strategy. Like, how has that experience been with, being able to move around with your family and still run a business? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, before the pandemic hit, we had been on the road for about over 2 years. And then I remember when everything kind of went and hit the fan, the Prime Minister of Canada said, get back, get back to Canada now. So we were down at the Johnson Space Museum in Houston at that time, and we beelined it back to Nova Scotia, where I'm from in Canada, and that's where we did our first initial kind of march. Pandemic, uh, you know, uh, what do you call it, just sitting still. And that's what we did for a month or two. But we missed the RV and we missed that stuff. So we found a place in southern Nova Scotia. And even though we had the house and we've had it for, the whole time we've been on the road, we left and we went back to the RV and spent the rest of like 2020 down there and then back over to Vancouver Island. So it's coming up on 4 years full time. And I think, this is a pretty popular theme of this conversation is that it's like an appreciation of the people around you. Having an infrastructure to be able to support like what you really stand for as a company, which is, the dreaded word of work-life balance. Of course, it's one of these things. I mean, it's essentially saying, do you have a life outside of work? And we've always wanted that. So to have that, it costs money,
Mhm.
right?
Gotcha.
And that's what it looks like. So what it looks like is there are people around you. I've been able to do this by only focusing on a couple roles. So sales has been the main focus while I was on the road. So it wasn't really working inside of any client work at that point in time. It was mostly related to new client sales and just like really high level tech stuff. So, relationships with vendors, introducing new things, supporting the team if they needed it, an extra hand. Um, but a year and a half ago, just the tools on the market got to be so interesting in this kind of no code, low code space that you just like, if you have any inkling of curiosity around tech, like you're gonna find this stuff. And I just caught the bug. So between the last year and a half doing a lot of research on that stuff plus sales, that's what it's looked like running from the road. So thank you to everybody at Live CA who does everything else, including all the partners and senior managers and tax people and bookkeepers. Yeah, everything.
Nice, nice. So, I mean, one of the things I want to talk about a little bit more is you mentioned the, low code, no code. So, for those that aren't as tech savvy, can you help them understand like what that means, no code and low code?
Yeah, look, this is like, what is cloud accounting? Is it hosted just because it's online, or is it not? I think there's a lot of interpretations out there, and I won't claim to be, the no code, low code like defined expert on this because I have no idea what everyone else is saying either. But to me, what it means is it's making application development and the movement of data easier for the rest of us. So where we were handcuffed in the past with API access and with building stuff to, developers, now there's just this whole accessibility increase to that data and being able to create something useful. So to me, no code doesn't mean, you'll never need a developer, or you'll never need to understand how to run a project, or you'll never need to, um, not understand the basics of UI or UX. It just means that it's now more accessible. And now you'll see a lot of people that grew up in no code over the last 5 years or more who really want to use the word low code because sometimes you just can't get a form to do what you want, so you have to build a little bit of JavaScript, or sometimes you just need a little bit of help from the regular drag and drop type of applications that exist out there. So I think it's a slight difference, but low code might be more customized using these tools, and no code is maybe truly the drag and drop and the connecting.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so, that brings up an interesting, or you say, reality for businesses across the board is like as they're looking for, you know, the right type of skill set, and as they're looking for the right people to bring on their team, and with all of the dynamics in the work environment, like trying to find talent. Something else really cool that you guys are doing with the site where people can find great talent. Can you tell us a little bit about that and just kind of what spurred that for you guys?
Yeah, sure. Do you mind me asking, like, when was the last time that you hired for your firm?
So we did some hiring of a virtual bookkeeper about 3 months ago. So the people we've been using have been on for 3 months.
That's awesome. How's it going?
They've been picking up things well. I would say so far it's been going smooth. Of laying out some processes for them. So far it's been smooth.
Good. Well, good luck. I hope it works out for you. um, I suppose you don't get many people asking or trying to like turn the interview around on you, but like, what's the size of your firm now?
So right now we have what maybe about what 5 virtual bookkeepers.
Oh,
And then as far as client size, we're about 15 clients right now, and we're onboarding about maybe 4 to 3 to 4 a month is kind of the pace we've been on for like the last, you know, 2 months.
yeah, that'll keep you busy over the next few months too, over tax season as well. Probably need some more too. Like, yeah, good luck with that. What are you finding is the most challenging part of taking on that many clients?
And for us, it's really been, I think, the piece of finding a someone on the team who can actually, have the discussion with the clients, because there's only so much capacity that I
Hmm.
have.
Right.
And like I said, if you're looking for someone who has a bookkeeping skill set that can do like the background, they may not necessarily be the person that also leads the conversation with the clients and stuff, so you run into that capacity constraint.
Oh,
I only have so
100%.
much capacity, and they have a limit on their skill set, as far as, so it's like really trying to find that right mix of that talent, or the person, or the candidates who can kind of play that role in the middle.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So if you had, your ideal next role that you're hiring for, like what would that ideal role look like?
Yeah, I would definitely say someone that would be like kind of a, I guess you say, maybe the best way I can compare is like an account manager, someone who had the experience and the understanding of accounting and finance, but can also interact with the client, the end user, can see the numbers from the client's perspective, to be able to have that
Interpret it, yeah.
communication, to know, hey, here are the reports, here's the information they need to run their business.
No, that's great. Like, and that's really special too, because there's a lot of people that are hiring right now, and
Mhm.
they have an idea of like that next person that they want, and maybe the next person after that. And what we found is like we, as we had gone through our hiring journeys over the years, the traditional ways of pushing things out, whether it's a LinkedIn job board, Indeed, Monster, the typical places that you'd send out a job advertisement, some of the highest quality people would be through either like referrals. And it's no secret why, because if someone speaks up for somebody or you have extra information about a firm when you're making a decision, you're more likely to be attracted to that company when you're applying. So we finally got a little fed up with, receiving one candidate for maybe every, I don't know, 50 or 100 people that would come through that was really exceptional. And, our job ads may not be perfect, but they're comprehensive. Do they say everything? Do people read all the job ads? I don't know. But I can speak for the results, which was, the ratio of really great candidates to the roles that we were hiring for wasn't great. And I kind of chalked that up a little bit to either um, having the job advertisement not be able to speak in a way that we wanted to be, projected across against other accounting firms or other companies that people are looking to. And there's a lot on us, of course, with websites and your careers page and that kind of stuff and how you go through the hiring process. But we thought, like, okay, if we're getting into this whole no code, low code space, and we've got this development team now, um, you know, why not build something that really helps us, our peers, our friends, also attract really high quality people? And I believe like there's a lot of great accountants that are sitting at firms that are miserable, and they don't want to live on job boards and set up alerts that have the city or remote or maybe one element of a filter to get the alert on. It's like, how can we attract that amazing person that wants to work on QBO, that wants a remote job, over a certain salary with a 401k, with da da da, like a bunch of different filters. There just isn't something that exists right now for that. So we built it. And that's what cloudaccountingjobs.com is. Uh, it's a place where not only can job seekers set up these custom alerts and let them work in the background, but employers can create an unlimited amount of jobs and from there set up their profiles. So if you were to click into any one of those, like the System 6 job down there, I think it's the third one down. There you go. Client lead. Kind of like what you were looking for, right? Like someone to lead what they're looking for. This is a short, 3 bullet points, grouping of what they're all about. You can see on the right the salary range, the job type, where they're located, when it was posted, what accounting systems they use, what additional tech apps System 6 is using, the size of the firm, the perks they have, their website, all that kind of stuff. So, this is our first go at it. I have no idea if this will ever take off, and it might just die because the people may not even want to use it. But it got to a point where so many of my friends were frustrated with getting way too many candidates and like not getting the quality that it just seemed like the right thing to do. So, this is a version 1. It doesn't even look that good. There's lots more stuff to build. There's a roadmap that's on the site that shows what we're planning. And like, I'd love to start a conversation with other firm owners who want really high quality candidates just as much as I do. And if we can build this up so that there's hundreds and maybe even thousands of jobs that people that are interested in an accounting job can look at, I mean, you're going to have a lot more filters than you do on LinkedIn or Indeed or any of these other systems. So I'm kind of curious, like, what do you think of something like that?
I definitely think that the features of being able to really search, like if a person's going there to look to see, they can filter on, like said, the perks, and I think also the systems, like what types of softwares and applications are in use. I think what it starts to do is it starts to give it starts to align, I think, with what people candidates expect. Also, it gives the company more clarity because I think with technology, we have access to so many different things. Like, those are all the questions that people are before when they were applying for a job, they would just they would find a friend who worked there and said, "Hey, what systems do they use? What are the perks?" It's like they were trying to find out all that information anyway, but in the background. But I think the tool does a good job of really just making it front and center. So people feel like, hey, I feel like I'm stepping into a situation with my eyes wide open.
Yeah, and in chatting with a couple other firm owners, they have projects that come up, like a gig, like an inventory implementation, or 2 clients that are needing to be covered on a mat leave for 6 months, or something that's fixed length or fixed outcome. And there was really no place to post that. So that's why there's a job category called freelance contractor gig. And if people have those types of situations where they need short-term help, it can be there. And now you can imagine like maybe a solo accountant who sets up an alert that just says, show me all of those gig jobs as they get loaded up every day. And then that way I can reach out to somebody. Maybe that's the play here that is also a way for us to lift each other up and help accountants help each other.
Yeah, I think that feature is definitely one that should be front and center on the site because I talk to a ton of smaller firms that even if it's something like, hey, we need to find a way to automate kind of reporting and being able to let's say pull financials from Zero or QuickBooks or whatever accounting system they're using to be able to automate kind of that reporting piece of it, to where I think there are a lot of smaller firms that I've met that they don't know how to do it. They believe that there's an answer out there. They just don't have the time to go find it. But if they could hire someone for a gig to say, hey, how do we do this? I think what it'll also do is help a lot of firms understand, like, you can hire them for this gig and realize that, hey, you can focus on growing your firm more to where you can actually hire them for more than just the gig, as you're becoming more productive.
Yeah, like a super concentrated Upwork for really good high quality accountants. Makes sense. And look, and that's the thing about this, like it's a rich text editor, so input video if you want. One of the things on the roadmap now is to put in, a video automated interview through Video Ask. So, if an employer really wants to, they can sit in front of a camera and answer questions about their firm's culture, what their growth and like it gives another dimension that won't have. So that's like gonna be released really soon. But again, that's the whole idea about like talking to you and getting advice and seeing what you think is important, and then like sharing that on Twitter and LinkedIn and running people through the process. So that's
Mhm.
exactly what we're trying to do. And this was built from scratch, just a couple weeks ago. So it's super new, not that good looking, and well, maybe we'll have to go to our own Upwork and hire a really nice designer to make it look good. Know anybody? You've done 400
you know,
interviews. You must know somebody.
what I will say is what I really like about it is, I mean, it really just captures, like I said, the essence of entrepreneurship from what I've seen of every person that has built a successful business or in the process of building an even more successful business of. It's just, you know oftentimes it doesn't look very pretty in the beginning, and it's just really like, okay, are we solving a problem, and then we can kind of tweak the visual of it as we kind of go, but it's just like, are we solving a problem that's valuable enough to the users? And I think that definitely there is a value in the solution that's being provided. So I like the way you guys are approaching it.
Yeah, and look, there's only one person that I know that starts off with their stuff pretty, and that's Jason over over at Oregon. Jason Stats. I mean, if you mentioned the automation stuff, I'll give a good plug. He released his CPE for automation. So if anybody is wanting to learn the basics of Airtable and Zapier and Integromat and APIs, take that course. It's going to be great and geared towards accountants. So big shout out to him.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. So now, I guess with being back, I want to go back to an interesting thing was being in the RV. Any thoughts on where the next stop or destination is, or next temporary destination is on the trip?
Yeah, look, with the way the world is right now, it's tough to move around quickly and feel super great about it. So we ended up leaving Vancouver Island as soon as the borders opened to the U.S. So they were closed for a while, and we're down here in Palm Springs for the winter, and we have to be back for tax purposes by the end of April. So between now, I mean, we're recording in early January. Um, it'll be sometime in February that we leave Palm Springs. And I think that's the beauty of this, is like it's kind of like building a development team. You have no idea where it's going to go and what you're actually going to end up doing. We have the same sort of philosophy with this trip. It's, if the weather's nice in February and Utah, Arizona, Northern looks good, maybe we'll hit some national parks up there. If it's not, Yuma and the South, Arizona, Tucson looks really good too. So we'll just play it by ear. But yeah, no major plans other than to get back to Canada in April.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, I think. Do you think that having that flexibility to move around has impacted your ability to be able to think out of the box with some of the new ideas on business and the way you guys are approaching some of the problems and bringing solutions?
I'm sure you could draw some parallels. Um, I once got stuck in the middle of nowhere, Texas, in a McDonald's parking lot because there was no signs that said that they had just re-graveled. So it was really soft gravel, and we're hauling 30,000 pounds with us, and we just drove in and immediately sunk. So if you're talking about that kind of stuff, like you're trying to get rid of problems, we're just lucky, and I think luck has a lot to do with it. Timing has a lot to do with it. I don't put everything we do obviously up to luck, but um, I'll take it when I got it. And I think with this development team, we got a lot of luck in the people that joined. One of the members is Matt Kennedy. He was a bookkeeper turned trainer. Sorry, trainer turned head trainer, turned into like the project manager of the team now. Found a fantastic developer that really knows Plaid and Fiserv and Flinks and all the financial APIs. So we're able to build, bank tools now that are almost ready to go to market. So I just feel really lucky that the timing of those relationships kind of worked out. And it's nice to meet you too. I feel lucky that we're able to have this conversation too.
Awesome. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one question that I love asking, every guest that's come on is, when you think about your journey and, different things that you've learned, twists, turns, ups, downs, what's two lessons that you've learned that you would share? And it could be something you've already shared that you just want to reiterate, or it could be two new things.
Oh, sure. You should put together like the 800 lessons that you've learned over your last 400 shows. Be really cool. I'm sorry for not answering that, but what's like the most popular answer you get when you ask that to people?
So I would say probably the most consistent one throughout 2020 is, be adaptable. That has probably been the most, and I think, the reality of it is, the pandemic. And I think, even just prior to a pandemic, without a pandemic, entrepreneurship, just you have to learn that skill. And I think that was a big lesson for a lot of people, having to unlearn about working a job to then becoming a business owner, to where it's just like, all right, yeah, you really have to be flexible and stuff. So that's probably, I would say, it's probably been the most common one.
Cool. Well, I'll give you probably the worst answer then. My advice is to one, find a really good hot tub and relax. A lot of good comes from relaxing and thinking versus scrambling and not being in a hot tub. The second piece of advice would be to learn something outside of accounting. And for me, I ended up taking that like master class with Aaron Franklin about barbecue smoking, and then went down the rabbit hole of YouTube, like barbecue science. And the amount of like, we carry around one of those Davy Crockett Green Mountain Grill smokers, and that's like my happy place, buying a big old piece of meat or a small one and just like trying something new that someone else has said like this works really well. And the clarity that you get around work when you're doing something else you really love, there's there's got to be some psychological, parallels between calmness and doing what you love and then having clarity in business about what's next. And I won't say that barbecue and hot tubs is what made the development team a reality, but I'm not saying it's not what caused it either. See?
I absolutely love that. I mean, because I will say, out of all of the tips that have been shared over the last 400 plus interviews, I will say that is probably, hot tubs and barbecue are probably a unique way. But I think, like I said, the lesson is so huge, because I, I agree. I think finding that's something that helps you relax. Some of my best ideas have come when I wasn't actually immediately doing something, thinking about my business or working on my business. So yeah, I think hot tubs and barbecue are gonna go to like the top of the list.
Are you over in DC, Terrell? Where are you at?
I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Is North Carolina, this is my US geography. Is North Carolina on the way from Palm Springs up to Canada? Because we might have to have a campground barbecue in April or something on the way through. That's
I
probably
will
not.
say, I grew up in the Carolinas, and so for me, barbecue is kind of like, it's very close to what some people would almost call like a religion of just
Hmm.
having really good barbecue, which is why that advice, I think I will champion that advice if anybody asks. Like, you've heard it here. Chad Davis said hot tubs and barbecue are like the business secret.
For clarity. Okay, so before we go, what is your favorite barbecue to consume? Growing up in North Carolina and all those places, you probably had everything. So lay it on me. What do I need to cook next?
Um, I will say it's changed over. I mean, ribs are definitely a traditional, but I will say as of late, and maybe it's just because I've just been traveling. Like my wife and I, when we travel to different places, I've really a really good Italian sausage. Like
Mm.
those being barbecued well. Like I don't know. I've
And
just had this
how do you
craving.
not dry
Probably
them
that's
out?
what'd you say?
How do you not dry them out? I'm gonna have to research this one.
So one of the things that that I used to do before is just drop them on the grill. Now, my wife is originally from Kenya, so
Oh yeah.
seasoning is a very very big deal for them. And so one of the things that she would do, like before I put it on there, is she would take them, rub them down in oil and then rub them down in seasoning and let it sit for probably like 6 hours or so, like that in the refrigerator. And then once you put it on the grill, we usually would cook it on like the top rack.
Yeah.
So it doesn't completely dry out.
Yeah, it doesn't
But
char
yeah,
up either. It's just moist. That's great.
yes,
The
yes. So
oil's the
they
key.
were great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we went to New Orleans, that was one of the things I was excited about is like trying, the blood sausages at the different restaurants. Because one day we did this, like, I guess you kind of like this food tour where we were like, all right, we're gonna go to like 7 different restaurants and we just order, hey, what's your number one thing on your menu? We'll order that, share that, eat that, then move to the next restaurant. And we did that like 7 restaurants back to
Wow.
back. It was, yeah, it was definitely the highlight of my New Orleans experience.
Dude. And ZeroCon's in New Orleans this year too. So get that blog up that lists all the places in the order that you want us all to go to. And we've got a thing to do there. All
Awesome,
right.
man. I'll definitely have to do that. Well, Chad, man, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the show, man. It's been a pleasure having you.
Likewise, likewise.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.